I have a mantra, a daily mantra, and that is minimal stress, no BS. Again, the kids will be laughing.
Hello, Rob.
Hello, Emma.
So good to have you on. It's been a while since we spoke, actually, and I saw you.
It has, though, saying that we do have these email ping pong going on in the background, and we're talking about things going on. We collaborate on campaigns as well. We share clients, and you take care of the radio, I take care of the webzines and magazines, that sort of thing. There's a lovely collaboration going on. So we're often in contact, but we don't often get seen in public like this.
We're not often seen in public at all, and now together. But yeah, we do talk. It's almost as if we work together all the time. But we have a great time working together, don't we? I always love it when bands approach me and they say, just been talking to Rob at Stampede, and he's told me to get in touch with you, or I pass them over to you, and you're like, Absolutely. Oh, if you're working with Emma, you must be all right.
I mean, instantly right there, it's demonstrating two things to me. It's demonstrating three things. It's demonstrating research, it's demonstrating collaboration, it's demonstrating professionalism. And if someone comes to me and says, we're working with Emma, straight away, those three boxes are ticked. So that's pressure off of my shoulders.
Same for me with you. It's great. And I already know that their expectations have been managed, and they're not expecting world domination with their first ever single.
Yeah, it's all about not crushing dreams. It's about understanding the word business and what goes with that. But I mean, that's just unearthing a whole different topic. So back to you.
We've been around the block a few times, and that's why we're doing this, and we're happy to give some insider information, a bit of insight into how the industry really works. Myself, from the radio side, I've been doing this for over 30 years, and Rob, you've been doing music for over 30 years, I believe, and you've been doing Stampede Press for well over 10 years. And
yeah, it's now in its 11th year, which
is it? And I've done Pluggin Baby for 10 years, so yeah,
bonkers, but great.
We might be old, but you know what? We're quite wise, and we're happy to share. And we're not trying to get anything out of this. We're both really, really busy. We just want to share. And this session we're going to call hashtag Feck Off Fuss.
I was going to say fuck off fuss.
Well, no, you're being polite.
Yeah, I have a mantra, a daily mantra, and that is minimal stress, no BS. Again, the kids will be laughing. But if I stick to that every day, generally things are okay.
Yeah, and you said that to me recently, and I was like, yeah, okay, I need to take that on board. It's hard. I mean, and I cancelled our session today, didn't I? Because everything got on top of me. And then I felt better after I'd been to my boot camp. And I was like, sorry, Rob, I'm a douche. It all got on top of me. Let's do it anyway. So we are here now, fully refreshed and clean. And we're going to just be able to scrape the surface, I think, in this session, and that's fine. So basically what we mean by our zero fuss thing, feck off fuss, how to make it as easy as possible, yes, for press and media to get you as quickly as possible with zero fuss, from a radio point of view and from a press media point of view as well. So do you want to go first with one of your top tips?
Time is most likely the most precious commodity of all. We're living in a time where we have billions and billions of different options available to us, thanks to the wonderful innovation and acceleration of smartphones and other digital devices, and our inboxes and message boxes, etc., just cluttered with so much correspondence and buy this, do this. And it's the same when it comes to press and media, whether they're journalists, whether they're radio DJs, whatever position they might be in the music industry, absolutely inundated. And a lot of their correspondence, I would argue, takes place via smartphones. So it's really important to understand that in the first place, that time is so precious. So without wanting to go too deep with that, we need to understand what that looks like and how we can begin to form real relationships. It's marketing 101. It's literally drawing awareness, consideration, conversion, simplistically put. However, a bit more complex than that, but it doesn't need to be complex. Taxes don't need to be taxed.
They don't.
But I mean, what would you say about that? The fact that time is just so precious. It's just...
100%. I mean, I actually did a post when I got back from my little, like, I was away for 4 days, and I got back and everything was at me. Instagram DMs, Facebook DMs, Facebook messages at Emma Scott page, my real name, Emma Scott Miles page, Twitter DMs, just everyone was at WhatsApps, text, everyone was at me. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you? And I'm like, you know what? I can't. I just need to think, and then I can start dealing with all the requests and all the things that are coming at me. And yeah, we get a lot of stuff coming at us, and we need to be quick with the things that are coming at us. We need to be able to get through them without any fuss. So we don't want to be asking for things. We want, if somebody wants something from us, give us everything that we need in order for us to check you out, or we need information, you know. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. Everyone needs to be aware that time is very tight. And I wasn't going to mention this, but when a band approaches me for a radio play for my radio show and sends me an album, what am I going to do? Am I going to sit and listen to a 12-track album from a band I don't know? Of course I'm not. I'm just not. I don't have time to listen to my own favorite albums, let alone bands I've never heard of. So one song only, please. And I guess you might need a few more if you're, you know, thinking of working with a band and promoting a whole album. But that kind of comes further down the line, doesn't it? Once, you know, you're going to be working with somebody. So, yeah.
I mean, straight away, there's a difference being pointed out here. As a radio plugger who's plugging to radio DJs, it's a different process, isn't it? It's the DJ putting a song on, talking about the band. You need to deliver that service. Whereas with me, I'm pitching to writers, asking them to take time to literally sit down and write some words, whether it's a review or a feature. And it's just really, really important that asset management is in place, that it's really easy to understand who the band is, what the music is. And the big first top tip I would say is your photos. This often gets missed. And whenever I'm having consultations with bands or we're talking about a potential campaign, the first thing I need to see are the photos, believe it or not. Okay. I do, obviously, the music, absolutely, it's very, very important. But if the photo is literally a bog standard 4 or 5 guys in jeans and t-shirts, or girls, whatever, 4 or 5 people with jeans and t-shirts stood against a metal shutter or in a forest, it's been done a bazillion times. And we see it on our social media feeds every single day. And anyone worth their salt who truly wants to make a great impression on First Impact when it comes to being appealing to magazines and webzines, etc., a kind of photo that makes you go, oh, what's going on there? And case in point, a band we both worked with or working with recently, Kerrang, lovely lads, very, very, very pleased with how the campaigning's gone for them. They've achieved some fantastic results. But initially, the photos I received, they were okay. But again, it was that whole t-shirt, jeans, metal shutter. There wasn't anything that made you stop and go, what's this band about? And I always give bands examples. One of the key examples I give is a photo by Mastodon. And they were in a forest, all right, admittedly in this photo, bear with me. But the photographer got really creative, found a ditch. He laid down in the ditch with his camera pointing upwards, and the 4 members of Mastodon are standing over the lens with shovels and dirt being thrown on it. And I always use that example. So the Kerrang lads took it on board, they went away, and they came back with them all dressed up in surgeon gowns, green gowns over, but they were in a, what do you call it? It was a corpse mortuary.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. And that's what we used. And that just helped, you know, get attention. Because here's the thing, the eyes are the first thing, the ears are the second for me. There's a different view, obviously. The ears, you know, will be the first.
Yeah. It's all about the music for me, yeah. But yeah, I love those Kerrang shots as well. The one with the sack over the head.
Yeah, the guy in an electric chair or something. And they're all
what's going on? I was quite worried for him. But I think it's great. So that's a really key point. So for you, the visuals very important. And, to a certain point, I need that for radio as well, but not for getting radio airplay, but for my social media posts. So if I'm talking about a client and I'm doing posts about them and saying, oh, great news, Tom has just got a spin on Amazing Radio. If I'm just putting crap pictures of Tom, the same crappy picture of Tom up the whole time, it gets boring, doesn't it? So you do need to have a bit of spice for social media posts, whether it be to talk about radio airplay or to to give to journalists and writers and bloggers and everything. So no, that's a really good point. So I'll add to your top tip, and I'll say then I'm all about the song, and I'm all about the one song, right? Try not to give to, I mean, you can give a DJ or a radio producer or a radio station access to more than one song, right? If you really feel that passionate about it, but you don't have to. Less is more for radio. And I would say you're only really going to get listened to for about a minute tops. I'll give everything a minute. I can tell within the first 10 seconds whether it's going to be radio worthy or plugging worthy. So I'll give everything a minute. So I'm definitely not going to give it an hour. All right. I've got too many things going on and not enough time. And for me, I need to actually hear the music. And it's amazing how many emails I get that the song isn't even on the email. So it's like, can we work with you? Can we do plugging? Well, yeah, but how I don't know who you are. How am I supposed to listen to you? So send me the song. And yes, if it's out on Spotify, then yeah, you can send me a Spotify link, but a Spotify link is absolutely no good for playing on the radio. I have to have a track to download, and it has to be a WAV. For me, it has to be a WAV. A lot of people only like MP3. So hey, what am I going to say? Send a WAV and an MP3 on a downloadable link. So yeah, WAV and MP3, yeah, like Dropbox or WeTransfer or from Smash I've started using. That's quite good for downloading big files. Google Drive, I hate Google Drive personally, but you got to deal with it, haven't you? So if you just make a little EPK, little press kit and make sure you have your WAV, your MP3, your band photos and the artwork. I think that's a good start with the visuals and the actual audio side of things. So that's my first top tip.
Okay, just to correlate what you're talking about here. So we've got the music, we've got the photos. What's the story? Morning Glory.
What is the story?
Is the DJ going to talk about? They're going, hey, that's Tom and his new track, Tom's Top Tips. Or they're going to say, this is Tom and this track is incredible. Tom features on the brand new Rock Band 4 game. It's on Xbox One and PlayStation. Tom's just been out on tour and sold out the tour and self-release artist, etc., etc. Yes. Or is it Tom's just got a track out and he's got an album out and he's featuring every day amongst the 100,000 tracks that are being added to Spotify every 24 hours?
100%. I'm so glad you said that. And I don't mean any disrespect when I say this. Bands get excited about their releases and they think they're the only band releasing, and they're not. And you need to be not just a band releasing a song. You need to be up there, a band releasing a song with something to talk about. Because as a DJ, I will look at the information that comes into me, whether it be on a press release or just a little email, that's fine. I'll look at that and I'll say, right, what can I take out of that email? What can I talk about? Because if it's just that Tom's releasing a new single, that's not exciting, is it? I want to come up with decent links for my show to make it interesting. So, I do need the story. I want the morning glory and all the excitement and, just little snippets. And sometimes, you know what, make it up. It doesn't have to all be true, but, not a complete lie. But
here's the thing, isn't it? We're all creatives. We've all got these incredible imaginations. And if we are as best informed as possible, there's loads of things we can do that we can conjure up and concoct and really capture people's imagination if we think about it, But you know what? I always put myself back into the 1990s. You remember the 1990s, Emma?
I was there.
You were there.
And were you at your peak? Because we haven't even mentioned your background.
You were smashing it on when you were at Kerrang.
I was at Kerrang from 2004 to 2000.
Okay, so same for me. 1990s, I'm trying to break into the music industry. Meeting musicians in the 1990s was a rarity compared to now. Trying to get into the music industry was extremely challenging. I couldn't even get a job at HMV. But it was because of the internet, the evolution of the internet and websites and social media and et cetera, I finally got the break in 2004 of all years as well. But I always put myself back in the 1990s, and I remember being that person that just didn't really know. It was like literally, I just want to pick up a guitar, be in a band, play in a band, get signed by a record label, go off on tour, you make loads of money, happy days. And without actually putting everything into context and understanding what our audience looks like and what the bands look like out there, I dare say that's still kind of a train of thought for many artists and many bands who aren't aware of what the actual music industry and what's entailed the music business is. Mm-hmm. So it really is a case of like, if I was in a band now, I'd strip it all back. I'd find out the key information. I'll be watching things like this. I'll be, looking into other places that have good education. There's some fantastic educational platforms out there that you can do as you go, or you can go to somewhere like Waterbear, etc. But it's never been more important to understand that we are in an age where there are 100,000 tracks being added to like Spotify every 24 hours. But the good news is, in my opinion, if bands understand that the actual word business means managing assets. Your music, everything surrounding the band are assets, and they need managing. Your songs, they're assets. Whenever you're delivering assets to people like yourself who can help amplify results when it comes to getting exposure, you need them to be in the correct formats, like you just said. Otherwise, they're just going to get lost. I mean, the majority of those 100,000 songs are arguably going to get forgotten about. No one's going to listen to them really because they're not being managed. I kind of got off on a tangent there a little bit, but I think it correlates with the fact of, when you're sending assets over to, whether it's a radio station or whether it's to a professional like yourself, making sure you've got it in the correct format and it's really, really quick and easy for you to get it and understand and plug it into your system, no pun intended, plug it into your system. Because the moment where I'm having to sit there and do meta tags and key tags and edit loads of stuff and whatnot, that's taking up time, and we will to an extent. Of course we tailor our campaigns, we make them as bespoke as possible, but yeah, bands, please do some research on this stuff. It will really help you, because the moment we understand they get it, it makes our lives a lot easier. It means we can focus on developing the relationship with the song, with the DJs and press that we're trying to reach.
Oh, we love that. Because this is what it's all about. But yeah, and going back to the 90s, that was exciting. But yeah, I didn't say, in the middle of trying to give all these top tips out, I didn't actually allow you to talk about your great musical career. You were in Panic Cell.
I wouldn't call it great or a career. It was musical. There was music involved.
There was music involved, and there was download involved, I recall.
Put it this way, and I say this very proud, I'm not being bragging, but pretty much every poster I had in my wall as a teenager, as a young person, I went on to either play with those bands or work with them. So we are talking the likes of Metallica. It just happened. And the reason it happened was, initially there was 5 guys all shaking a leg in the same direction at the same time. We had business acumen. I've been working for Fujitsu Siemens for 6 or 7 years. I had customer service behind me, and we were able to turn the band into a business. We had access to videographers, website designers, which were very scarce back in the early 2000s. It was still really scarce. It was very expensive as well. Yeah. And we just managed to navigate the music business. And yeah, within a year, we were playing download. By the end of my time being in bands, we were playing with bands like Metallica and stuff like that. Why? Because we met and networked with people. It was definitely not because we were the best band on the planet. I assure you that. The best band on the planet are the ones that understand how to manage themselves as human beings and the relationships they have with one another, and how to navigate the music industry and how to manage their business. If you want to have a happy career as a musician, getting these basic things in place is imperative. Being happy with yourself, being happy with those that you choose to be with, it's so crucial. And that's generally why I think we did succeed to a certain point. But I tell you what, we discovered a lot about the music industry. We fell into the traps, we fell into those pitfalls. We made mistakes. A lot of success, but a lot of mistakes. And it did have an effect on mental health, my mental health, and it did put me off from playing in bands. So I would say to any band looking to really push themselves, make sure you sustain happiness as much as possible and be ready for the battle and take on the opportunities and make the opportunities even, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, you've got your big 365 ways to be a happy musician, and which is great. So, you know, people listening to this that have and watching this that haven't come across you before, definitely check out Rob and everything he's done, you've done, because you've written so much, and I've read some of your guides, and they're really well written, and it's just simple, you know, common sense stuff that it's just a massive cock up out there. So, you know, there's people like me. I've written a couple of books. Rob has written loads of stuff and continues to give great content. You give a lot of good content. I do bugger all. But
I'd highly argue against that. In fact, one of the main reasons that I got into writing was that I read your book ages and ages ago. It was my band, yeah. I read it ages and ages ago. And this is probably oh man, it must have been. When did you write it?
I put the first book out in 2012, the How to Get Radio Airplay, and then If It Was My Band came out in 2014.
Yeah, I think I must have picked out pretty much.
Funnily enough, I was looking at it because I wanted the ISBN code off it earlier for something.
Honestly, it's gold. Again, you say the word common sense.
Gold.
That is, I've got it. I've got it somewhere.
Oh, that's amazing, Rob. I didn't know that. But
my books.
You're a con. Oh, it'll have loads of Post-it notes in it, you know, just scrawn over bits of paper and fold a dogged thing. People really want me to put this out again on in physical, but it's just too much grief.
It's too much grief.
It's too much ruddy grief, right? Hard work.
It's money. This is the thing about books. Especially if you're doing a small amount of numbers, you know,
I know it's too much.
The profit margins are pretty much, you'd be lucky to get break even, arguably, depending on what your price point is.
I know. I mean, oh, that is hilarious. You've actually got it.
You know, so I always say, and this is so true of any artist, it's we're standing on the shoulders of giants, essentially. We're borrowing ideas. I always remember having a conversation with a screenwriter, and I was talking about writing a book, which is now going to be whatever 365 ways to be a happy musician turns out to be. And I was saying, what I'm talking about is common sense. I'm not reinventing the wheel. And they said, yes, but no one said it in the way that you have before. And that just light bulb moment went off straight away. So yeah, just don't undersell yourself, Emma. It's really important what you do.
Well, thank you.
Books that you've done. So,
and you know, the interesting thing about If It Was My Band is that I wrote it because I was pissed off. Every time a band got in touch with me through whatever they were getting in touch with me about, whether it be Emma Scott Presents gigs or radio airplay or a record label that I was involved in, every time I had that communication with a band or I worked with a band at a gig or something, and they made a mistake, I wrote it down on a piece of Post-it note, and I just thought, fucking hell, if it was my band, I wouldn't do that. And it was basically 300 bits of Post-it note all around my desk that I just thought, God, there's so many mistakes that they're making. What should I do about this? And then I wrote a little essay about it and a blog, I think. And then somebody, I just talked about it to somebody, and they said, you know what, you could make those Post-it notes into a book, and we could draw some, you know, we can have some pictures in there and everything. I was like, oh, we could do that actually. So that, yeah. But it was basically because I was irritated on a daily basis and I was frustrated for the musician. I was like, there's some really good bands getting in touch, but if I have to ferry around and trying to get their music so I can hear it, or the photos are crap, or, you know, it's just terrible what they're giving me. If they could just, you know, have what's in my head, then, you know, it might make their lives easier. And it is common sense, but it can't be that common because they're not doing it. So, yeah, anyway, that's that. Don't know what we're talking about.
Just a quick observation as well. When you wrote your books, back then, and I don't mean to make it sound old, but, you know, 10 years ago wasn't that long ago. But back then, the music industry, as we know it now, was nowhere near as transparent, given the amount of information and people being called out for being sharks, the lesser savory type people, shall we say, or sharks. It was uncommon to see these sort of things. So arguably you were kind of leading the way with this, being a pioneer. Because now, I mean, I think back to my time in the band, and you daren't speak out about someone. You daren't, at the risk of being blacklisted or being seen as a troublemaker. And we know of people, we know of managers and more that have been very, very horrible. I could be very scathing here, but I'm not going to. And what I'm hoping from what we're seeing, because of what's happened with your books, because of what's going on now with more transparency, that bands take the initiative and take this on board. You know, go and read this book if you're watching this. Go and read it and take notes and start to build your own framework and plan when it comes to navigating the music industry. But for the purpose of this episode, consider what you can do to make it really, really straightforward for press, media, radio DJs, etc., to understand who you are, what your music sounds like, and why they should consider you for featuring, that kind of thing.
100%. And it's not just about trying to get the journalists to write about you or to or the DJs, whatever. It's trying to get people like you and I interested in them as well, because, you know, people like us that have been doing it for a while, we've got a lot of work. You know, we can turn work down, and that's not being, you know, a cock about it. But, you know, I've been doing this for 34 years. You know, I've been doing Pluggin for 10 years. You've been doing it for a long time. We've got to a level where we're really, really lucky. All right, and we're busy. Okay. But so you and I can be fussy, and we're not just going to take any old Tom, Dick and Harry that sends us something and says, yeah, I'm going to throw some money at you, Rob and Emma. Can you get me on the radio? Can you get me written about? We don't have to do that. So it's like they have to get over another hurdle to try and get professionals to work with them and represent them. So yeah, hopefully that didn't come across as a cocky
no, not at all.
Say, but that's how it works. That's how the industry works.
Yeah. I mean, I teach students at Waterbear on site and online, and two key things that I always talk about is, one, the need to be a professional, and number two is how much money do you actually need to earn to be happy? And I know how much money I need to earn to be happy, and it's not a king's ransom. But the key word here is happy. How can I be happy? You know, and that entails me being smart with my work, working with those that I want to work with, and putting myself in situations where I know I can navigate, I can manage the waters. And the stress is, there's a little bit of stress, but like I said earlier, it's a little bit of stress, but there's no BS. I'm happy because of it, and I'm not trying to sound, you know, cliched about it, but the last thing we need in our lives, with everything going on in the world, especially, the last thing we need is someone getting upset because they haven't been put on the front cover of Rolling Stone magazine, or they got a bit of a naff review in a magazine. I won't name the magazine, but I'll take you back in the time machine. It's 2010. It's my band's last album. We're featured in the biggest metal magazine in the world. We have been featured numerous times. They've been very kind to us. They hated our last album. Whenever a band comes back to me and says, that review's well out of order, that opinion is well out of order, 5 out of 10, how dare they? My comeback is always, you know what, my band, our last album, biggest metal magazine in the world, 3 out of 10. And that's where it comes into play, because I've walked in their shoes as a band, and I can go, you know what, I've done that. Don't waste your time on it. Someone said to me the other day, don't sweat the small stuff. Not worth it. Don't sweat the small stuff.
100%. I have But yeah, good point. And yeah, I'm sure you deserve more than 3 out of 10, Rob. So more common sense stuff when sending to, we'll have to wrap this up. This is supposed to be a 5-minute conversation, but
This is going to be an ongoing thing, I think. So
I feel as if, we could have a weekly rant. What's happened this week, Rob? What's pissed you off this week? And I'll be like, oh my God.
What naffs me off? What grinds my gears? Maybe if anyone's watching this is interested in finding out a bit more, maybe they've got some questions when it comes to common sense. Less stress, no BS, when it comes to servicing their music to publicists and radio pluggers, etc. What does the music industry actually expect? Because here's the thing as well, it's one size doesn't always fit all as well. We need to consider this, and we know this, and we can tailor it when we're pitching, but a lot of bands probably don't. So yeah, if anyone's got any questions, maybe we can do a little bit of a Q&A.
We could. Oh, exciting. We could even go live one day, couldn't we? I've never done one of those.
Steady on.
3. What else is on my notes? Social media. Keep your social media updated. Make sure people know your social media addresses. Also, make sure if you're sending anything to radio, it really needs to be clean. No effing and jeffing. There are stations like Primordial Radio that don't care about swearing, but they're not governed by Ofcom. They don't mind the odd F-bomb. In fact, they welcome it. So, but yeah, generally, 99% of the time, no one wants to hear you swearing. So, yeah, definitely clean. Certainly Planet Rock and Kerrang are not going to play anything with swearing on. In fact, Kerrang being a rock station and everything, but they are one of the biggest radio groups. They're owned by Bauer Media, same as Planet Rock. They're the same company. They're the hottest on lyrics, and I think I plugged a band. I don't know whether you might have been involved with them, but there was a song and the lyrics involved something about smoking weed, getting high or something, and it was rejected on that, so we had to get an edit. So you can appreciate if there's an F-bomb in there, that's not even going to get listened to. So, if they're listening to lyrics, because they don't want to be complained about, they don't want anyone listening to say, oh, well, I heard a song on Kerrang the other night and it said about smoking weed, and they'll get a £5,000 fine or something. And for the F-bomb, you could get a 10 grand fine. So it is just got to be clean as a whistle. I mean, obviously there's so much swearing in these modern songs, but they have to edit all of the language out and any drug use or anything. I think there's a song at the minute is in the charts talking about doing stuff on the back seat of the taxi, drugs. I'm like, Christ, really? Come on, clean it up. But that's all edited for the radio. So yeah, for radio, definitely no swearing. Social medias, links all have to be in there. Have you got any final things with regards to what you need? So the story, if they need a story, right? Otherwise, what are you going to say? What are you going to put on your press release? It's more important for you to have this. I need a bit of a story, but for you, so do you work with the band to try and get a little bit of story out of them, or how does that work?
Generally, I ask them some very probing questions, and some of them can be quite uncomfortable in terms of getting to the root of why they are actually in a band. Why are you a musician? Why are you creating this music? What makes you tick? And one of my practices is for them to go away, and whoever is writing the lyrics, for them to sit down and dissect those lyrics and ask themselves, where do those lyrics come from? And if they actually do have a purpose, it's cathartic. It helps them to understand who they are and why they're doing it. And a lot of the times we see people that are struggling with their mental health. We see people that are traumatized through their own experiences or what they're experiencing from viewing the news and things like that, and they're reflecting it back on the lyrics, but they're not talking about it in the bio or the press release. It's normally, oh, well, this is Tom, and Tom's got some fantastic new tracks coming out. Tom's in a band with Dick. And also Harry, who plays drums. They're thinking about getting Harry's sister in on keyboards. However, she's got a job and she's got to make sure she's there on time. Harry's actually reconsidered. He's out of the band. They got someone else. That kind of thing. And I'm being very flippant with this, but it's so important to have a purpose with your music. Lyrically, the art is everything. Ultimately, the art is the heart, as we say. But from a lyrical point of view, consider what you are writing. Is it about smoking weed and drinking Jack Daniels, or is it actually about community? Is it about Gajira being a great example with their stance on oceans and saving the planet and things like that? Find your purpose with your lyrics. Don't just start pandering to, well, if I sound like Nickelback and write lyrics like Nickelback, then we're just going to get on the Nickelback train. There's nothing wrong with the Nickelback train, by the way, or Nickelback at all. But ultimately, if you are going to stand out in what is a very crowded market, having some kind of story that resonates, that makes people stop and go, oh, that's familiar to me, or that I hadn't thought of it like that before. You couple that with great music, couple that with great visuals. You're hey, you're John Bon Jovi. You're halfway there. You're living on prayer. Yeah,
you're a funny guy.
It is a little bit deep, but I'd argue if you can, and this is all part of the journey. You and I have both been on a journey, but it's so important to understand authenticity and to understand what you can do to really help yourself stand out from what is a very, very crowded market. If we're talking about rock and metal, which is what we predominantly deal with, there is loads out there. So being best prepared, be ready.
I'm sure there's another song about that. I was thinking of Get Ready, but I don't know, is that some sort of Motown song? I don't know, whatever. Let's write a song, Rob. We could write a song. We could knock one out to assist.
There's so many sound bites from this. So literally, someone's going to clip it for like 3 seconds. And it'd be so rude. So innuendo plenty.
You were thinking that. I wasn't. I was thinking about writing a song together. Anyway, let's not. Really good advice, Rob. Really appreciate your time. And I think, you know, that skims the surface. But a lot of that was deep. And I think that was really necessary. So
well, if you fancy doing some more of these, let's get some themes in place. I think this is a great introduction as to the way we work together, the way we think. Also, I really love the fact it demonstrates the authenticity of the relationship as well. You know, we're obviously very at ease with each other, and it's just really easy conversation. And ultimately, that's what you want to transfer into the music industry. You want to build those relationships, Rob and Emma type relationships. Take that as a template, and then try and find ways to find your own Rob and Emmas in the music industry.
Exactly.
And things will follow.
It's all about the team, isn't it? But anyway,
teamwork makes the dream work.
What makes the dream work? Well, I get that, and that's my favorite clients are the ones that see me as part of their team. Anyway, look, let's not go on. So that's enough for episode 1. We'll do some more. I've enjoyed it, and let's do it again soon. So, and hopefully you've enjoyed it. And you're supposed to say subscribe, hit like, hit the bell,
smash that button,
smash it.
But if you have watched this and you've got some questions, please leave some questions, and maybe on the next episode we can do a Q&A.
Yeah, stick them in the comments, and we'll definitely avoid answering them. No, we'll definitely answer them next time we talk. Thanks, Rob, for your time. And all of our socials will be here. We're down here, up here, down there,
all over the place.
Got a microphone here somewhere. Thank you, Rob. And
thanks, Emma.
Thank you for listening.
See you next time.
Thank you for watching. Take care. See you soon. Bye.